on the subject of Jennifer Griffin, not to beat up on her too much, but I'll just give you one example. So just today now, she's reporting because, Trump yesterday was like, I'm not sure we need an agreement with Iran. Like, I guess we could put something in writing that we're going to inspect, but we blew up their nuclear facilities. And Trump's kind of like, and I guess maybe we'll just have to blow up more. But it's done. He's like, it's destroyed. So I guess we could put something in writing. He says, I don't care if we have an agreement or not. And then, of course, Jennifer Griffin comes out and says, actually, every U.S. and Israeli expert who has studied the Iranian nuclear program tells me that without the agreement and inspectors on the ground, the Iranian regime, which, while definitely hurt, survived the humiliating military strikes on its key nuclear sites and its ballistic missile, will return to pursuing nuclear enrichment. You can't bomb the knowledge. There's no way to bomb Iran's nuclear ambitions. The military is a tool to set the program back in order to then negotiate. But, I have to say, guys, it seems to me that our ability to know what was happening at Fordo was pretty good. And it seems to have largely come from our intel, the Israeli intel, satellite images, and probably not exactly the IAEA inspections that Iran had to allow. I mean, I'm sure it was a combo, but my point is simply, we seem to have known Fordo the way your GYN knows your ovaries. And that's a good thing.
I don't quite know how to react to that. I presume that you probably
more can be said.
It is like an ovary. It says you don't actually have the ability to lay hands on it every day, but you can check it out and keep an eye on it and make sure its general health is where you want it to be.
Okay. I think that's a fair assessment. Well, I don't want to continue the parallel here, but look, if you think about the way that the press has just entered into this conversation with casting doubt and using this low confidence intel assessment to basically suggest that this mission was a failure, which is ridiculous. It's also illogical in that the stated mission from Donald Trump over and over and over again, and then after over and over and over again, was to render these nuclear sites inoperable. That's what it was. Now, unless you didn't pay attention to the news for the last 10 days, the Israeli Air Force was basically doing an Oshkosh air show over Tehran.
Right.
It wasn't a lot of opportunity to just sort of one shot and done. I mean, if they didn't get the job done, does anybody really think that Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and our brave men and women in uniform wouldn't get that job done? Or moreover, that somehow Natasha Bertrand has a better handle on whether or not they're enriching uranium still than our United States military that mapped out, as you say, the ovaries of the nuclear facility at Fordo. I mean, that's just the logical piece of this that makes no sense.
Well, and here's the other thing. The initial report was they collapsed the entrance to Fordo. That's basically it. And meanwhile, you hear General Kane talking about how the number of bombs we had, but these burrowing bombs that, again, just picture like a rocket that we watch launch, only facing down, going down into the earth, and that the precision drops into each ventilation shaft that was on either side of the centrifuges doing the enrichment. And the reason was because you can get down in those ventilation shafts. Here's this. This is from the test video that they showed us. This isn't the actual, but supposedly it looks like what it looked like. So they go down into those two ventilation shafts on either end and then dropped off 1,000 pounds, whatever. These are 30,000 pound bombs. And caused a huge explosion. In the presser, they talked about how the pilots talked about it was pitch dark and then it lit up like the daytime, possibly because they hit a uranium centrifuge. And now they want us to believe they basically knocked down a screen door with their...
It's true.
Well, and back to Holmes's point on the whole common sense of this. Do you think, if Donald Trump wasn't super confident that he got what he needed to out of these strikes, do you think he would have been calling for a ceasefire?
Right.
And getting the Iranians and the Israelis to the table the next day?
Because that's the mission. That was the point of the mission. If it didn't succeed, And they are
Iran.
basically doing whatever the heck they wanted over Tehran for a calendar week. They would, of course, would have gotten the job done. I mean, it's just, it defies
Even Trump
logic.
said that. Trump, in his thing about the agreement, when he's like, I don't think we need an agreement, he says, I told Marco, like, should we have an agreement? He goes, because I think they'll do whatever we want them to do. Like, right? He's like, right now, they're going to sign whatever the hell we want them to sign so they don't see our B-2 bombers again anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, look, fire up the AC/DC, fire up Freebird. We got America back on top of the world right now.
Yeah.
You see it, Trump goes over to NATO, and what a difference 8 years makes, right?
Yeah.
They're like making fun of them 8 years ago. Now they're like, oh, you wanted 2%? How about 5? How about 5% of our GDP? What else do you need?
And to me, that's the most stunning thing of seeing the press reaction, especially from people like Natasha Bertrand, is we are so incredibly fortunate. President Trump saw this window of opportunity where Israel had degraded so many of Iran's proxies all around that region, and America had already bombed out the Houthis. And so you have a window of opportunity for this problem, this thorn in our side, which could eventually get to the point where Iran has a nuclear bomb, and he has the foresight and knows there's so much chatter out there online of like, oh no, this is going to be a forever war. This is going to be 20 years of boots on the ground in Iran. And he's willing to do the right thing. Precision strike, which takes care of the problem. Americans should be celebrating. Wow.
Universally celebrated.
How lucky are we?
Yeah. And the only group of people trying to take America down a peg right now is the press. I mean, Pete Hegseth had the temerity to say thank you to our boys in the air. And they're like, wait a minute, you didn't mention women. You played this clip. They asked him about it again today. And it's an issue that I think deserves some examination. You know, our good friend Josh Holmes pointed out earlier this week that if you look throughout history, like it's Cyndi Lauper's famous song, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Well, the truth of the matter is boys want to have fun too. So you need to go back through everything in history and even things out if you're going to start doing it right now in America's heyday.
So true. The nerve of Cyndi Lauper. Who knew she was such a sexist pig? It's like this exclusionary language must stop. And by the way, we looked it up. The Washington Times is reporting that the woman who asked that totally inane question was Associated Press reporter Tara Kopp, Tara C-O-P-P. If so, she ought to be ashamed of herself. If not, we'll correct it after we find out if we're wrong. But
I mean, I
don't think we're wrong. It tracks.
It's so bizarre. The whole
Tracks
thing,
perfectly.
it's like, you have this incredible mission, this absolute success. Presidents from the 90s were talking about how you go about dealing with nuclear ambitions in Iran. We end up with a successful strike, and they're like, Mr. Secretary, were there trans capabilities in B-2s? Like, we got to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and allowed to bomb Tehran. I mean, what in the hell?
That's exactly right. Was there a non-binary bomber? If so, I can't. If not, I can't get behind this. We are days away from what has been dubbed by some the Rio Reset, what some worry could be a threat to the U.S. dollar's global dominance in over 80 years. On July 6th, BRICS nations, that's Russia, China, India, and Iran, and some more, are expected to unveil their plans to circumvent the U.S. dollar, thus cratering, its value. Some report that they've already been laying the groundwork as their central banks have been methodically divesting from the U.S. dollar and U.S. bonds in favor of gold. How can you protect your IRA or 401k from the fallout from this landmark shift? One option is to diversify with gold from Birch Gold Group. Historically, gold has been a safe haven in times of high uncertainty, which is right now. Get a free info kit on tax-sheltered gold IRAs by texting the word MK letters to 989898. July 6th could mark a monumental shift happening among nations that control 1/3 of the world's GDP. Arm yourself with information to diversify your retirement savings. Text MK to 989898 and claim your free info kit from Birch Gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.